But first, as promised, let's bring John Healey into the conversation now. He's the Shadow Defence Secretary. Mr Healey, it's lovely to have you on the show. I think it's the first time we've spoken. So welcome to the Camilla Tominey Show, and nice to see you this morning. Now, Keir Starmer gave, I thought, a very confident and courageous speech in the week where he talked about the fact that he did not want to call for a ceasefire because he didn't think that was the right solution for Israel and indeed Gaza. But he's coming under increasing pressure, isn't he, from some of his own backbenchers. We've got 250 Labour councillors threatening to resign over this issue. It's very difficult for him to, I would say, enforce collective responsibility, even though he says himself that it's very important he does so in the party. How does he navigate this, Mr Healey?
Look, war is difficult, as you say. Keir Starmer made a very important speech. It was a speech of a leader. He was wanting to take people with him. He was making the big arguments. He said, look, I understand why people are calling for a ceasefire, but first and foremost, Israel has the right to self-defence. That means going after Hamas fighters and their missile systems and their command centres so that they can't pose the same terror risk to Israel again in the future. But secondly, there's a very strong practical argument. And he said a ceasefire for now is not the right way, because the best chance of getting what everybody wants to see, a reduction in the civilian casualties, an alleviation of the Palestinian suffering, is by working for humanitarian pauses. It's what the US is doing, it's what the European Union is doing, it's even the UN aid chief has called for the same, saying it's the only viable option. And so Keir Starmer was making a big issue to take people with him. And in the end, there is a single common concern in the Labour Party, which is to see the alleviation of Palestinian suffering, reduce the civilian deaths, and get more aid into Gaza.
I appreciate
that. Much more likely to achieve that through pauses, not as simply a call for ceasefire.
I appreciate that he is trying to keep the party together, but it's not working very well, Mr Healey, is it? We read in the Mail on Sunday today that there are now some MPs calling for a vote on a ceasefire. So there's a significant rebellion going on within the Labour Party on this issue, isn't there?
There isn't a significant rebellion. There is a range of different views that Keir Starmer recognises. But Keir Starmer is not a protest leader. He's making the arguments of a national politician concerned to see the best way of achieving what is a common concern about the Palestinian suffering and loss of innocent lives. More steps need to be taken to protect those. And it's a leader who wants to take people with him. But in the end, collective responsibility, a degree of discipline is required.
OK, so if a degree of discipline is required, because you're obviously looking forward perhaps to leading the country after the next general election, you're going to have lots of matters of foreign affairs to deal with, and you're going to have a number of contrarians within your own party. So how should they be disciplined? If the likes of Claudia Webb keep up this campaign, which goes against what the Labour leader is saying, should she and others lose the whip?
Well, Claudia Webb is not a Labour MP at the moment. She's been suspended from the Labour Party and is under investigation. So, look, you know, I've been a Labour MP. I've been around a long time. I've seen and been a part of the Labour Party when it's been divided. And I have to tell you, if you go back 1 month at our Labour Party conference in Liverpool, that was a unified conference, totally determined and unified in solidarity with Ukraine, behind a plan to help people with the cost of living crisis, and a determination to get rid for this country of 13 years of a failing infighting government. And underneath the current difficulties and the differences of view over this heartbreaking conflict in Israel and Gaza is a Labour Party determined to give Britain a fresh fruit.
I know, but I suppose what I'm asking is, should others face losing the whip like Webb if they express similar sentiments on Palestine, which are not in accordance with the Labour leaders?
Well, Claudia Webb was nothing at all to do with...
I know, but she's also expressed some interesting views on the conflict. So I'm using her as an example for some on the hard left of the party. Should people who adopt that kind of stance, who go against the Labour Party, actually be disciplined by losing the whip? You've taken away the whip from a number of people, including Webb, MacDonald lately, Jeremy Corbyn and others. They're all of the same groupthink. Should other MPs that express these views against what the Labour Party leader is saying face similar discipline and sanction?
Look, Jeremy Corbyn is no longer a Labour MP either. The mainstream of Labour opinion is with Keir Starmer. I think the speech and the arguments he made last week will help reassure many others that our single common concern within Labour and more widely for people who are anguished by what we see on our TV screens and on social media is to see a reduction in civilian casualties, more aid going into Gaza, and more hostages out, and by that creating some sort of space and confidence that allows further diplomacy in the long run to try and settle this conflict.
Mr. Healey, I wondered if you might be perhaps more equivocal than, say, unequivocal rather than, say, Oliver Dowden was when I asked him this question earlier. Should this march on Armistice Day on Saturday be stopped, yes or no?
It will be utterly unacceptable if the march interferes with and disrespects the Remembrance service at the Cenotaph.
So it should go ahead.
But we're in a democracy. So we're in a democracy. We have to balance the right of free speech and to protest. It's an operational decision for the police. They are talking to the protest organisers who want to show their solidarity with Palestinians, and they're looking at a different place in London at a time 2 hours after the Remembrance service at the Cenotaph. And I hope we'll be able to get to a situation where we're not banning the right of protest, but we're absolutely ensuring that the remembrance, recognition and honour of those people who've served and fallen to defend us in this country is fully respected.
Why do you think that Keir Starmer seemingly felt the need to take off his poppy when he addressed the Muslim community of this country in a video? I've
absolutely no idea whether that's happened or not. If Keir Starmer was without a poppy at any stage in this present period, it will be because of something basic like having the wrong jacket or something fell out. So I'm not even sure that what you're telling me is correct, but Keir Starmer has a huge and deep respect for our armed forces. They keep us safe, and he knows, like I do, we've both served in government, that the first duty of any government is to keep the country safe and protect our citizens. And very soon after he became leader 3.5 years ago, he declared that never again will Labour go into an election not trusted on national security.
So you think it was more kind of by accident than design? Fair enough. Let me talk to you about your aspirations should you become the next...
Well, hang on. I've no idea whether what you're telling me is accurate or not.
Well, he appeared in a video addressing the Muslim community about Islamophobia, and he wasn't wearing a poppy, but moments earlier he was wearing a poppy for another event. I think the Labour leader has said that it was a jacket issue, but some have interpreted it as him feeling uncomfortable perhaps wearing a poppy while addressing the Muslim community. We just don't know. We haven't had much clarity on the issue.
Well, let me tell you again. Keir Starmer and the Labour Party has a deep respect for our armed forces. They embody the values that the British people value most: loyalty, integrity, service, courage. And Keir Starmer will be at the National Memorial Service and Remembrance Service at the Cenotaph on Sunday, paying our respects and honouring those who've served on behalf of the Labour Party.
OK. Mr Healey, a quick word on your housing policy, which you've released this morning. It's already come in for some criticism. I see that Peter Truscott, the head of Crest Nicholson, has said these plans are all well and good, but it's going to take 5 years for the first homes to be built. That's too long, isn't it, Mr Healey?
It won't take 5 years, but he is right that the house building level is in free fall. It's a direct function of the way that Rishi Sunak has caved into his backbenchers and given them a wholesale opt-out in some areas from build figures. So we can do in the first 6 months of a new government, through a combination of new policy and new planning guidance, we can restore the mandatory housing numbers. We can ensure that all local authorities have plans, and that's the way you get more building, more houses
Yes.
built, but also the way that you get the infrastructure that's needed to support communities in the future. So we're in a hole. The government has no plans to fix that, and what we've been setting out today is the way that in 6 months of a new Labour government we can start to fix the problems that we've seen and the failings over the last 13 years of the Conservatives.
So, Mr Healey, you're saying that house building will go up under Labour. If we could have a quick yes-no answer to the following question, that would be great to conclude. Will defence spending go up under Labour?
Labour will always spend what's required on defence.
Will it go up,
and
though?
keeping this country safe. The last Labour year in government, we were spending 2.5% of our national income on defence. That's a level that the Tories have not matched or got anywhere close to in any of the following 13 years.
OK. Mr Healey, thank you very much indeed for joining us for the first time on the Camilla Tominey Show this morning. Lovely to speak to you.